Welcome to the BuiltOnAir podcast, the variety show for all things Airtable. In each episode, we cover 4 different segments. It's always fresh and different, and lots of fun while you get the insider info on all things Airtable. Our hosts and guests are some of the most senior experts in the Airtable community. Join us live each week on our YouTube channel every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, and join our active community at BuiltOnAir.com. Before we begin, a word from our sponsor, On2Air Backups. On2Air Backups provides automated Airtable backups to your cloud storage for secure and reliable data protection. Prevent data loss and set up a secure Airtable backup system with On2Air Backups at On2Air.com. As one customer, Sarah, said, having automated Airtable backups has freed up hours of my time every other week and the fear of losing anything. Longtime customer David states, On2Air Backups might be the most critical piece of the puzzle to guard against unforeseeable disaster. It's easy to set up, and it just works. Join Sarah, David, and hundreds more Airtable users like you to protect your Airtable data with On2Air Backups. Sign up today with promo code BuiltOnAir for a 10% discount. Check them out at On2Air.com. And now let's check out today's episode and see what we built on air.
Welcome back to episode 2 of season 21 of the BuiltOnAir podcast. Good to be with everybody. We've got myself, Kat, Camille, and Alli back, and Kevin joining us. Welcome, Kevin, to the show.
Hey.
Good to have you with us. We'll learn more about Kevin and his story a little bit later in the show. I'm first going to walk us through what we're talking about today. We always start with our Around the Bases, keep you up to date on all the news and updates and everything going on in the Airtable world. Then we'll talk about our sponsor, On2Air. And then we'll learn about Kevin and his story and background and how he came into this world of Airtable. And then Kevin's going to showcase his app that he built and how it works, called TypeFlow. And then quick shout out to join our community. And then finally, Alli's going to walk us. We're going to continue. Last week, we talked about this new feature with Rollup Sorting, also lookup sorting. And Alli's going to show us a cool use case on how to use that for ranking. Okay, with that, Around the Bases. First, we start with some somber news. Everybody is likely aware of major fires going on in Los Angeles. Camille is doing okay. She's out there fighting the good fight. Staying alive, supporting with the shirt.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. California gets fires every now and again, but this is it's bad.
Yeah. So a lot going on. It's cool to see when there's tragedy and difficulties that people rally together, and our community is no different. There's a couple of people I want to highlight doing some cool stuff to try to help out. So Max, friend of the show, put together essentially a mini Airbnb built on Airtable. It's pretty cool. I actually tested it out, works great, and it helps people post if they've got a room available. And his focus is in the music industry, which is obviously huge out in LA. And so he's kind of targeting people within that industry to help each other out if they've got a spare room for anybody that's been impacted from the fires. And so he's looking for people to just kind of beta test it, make sure everything's working okay. So if you want to help him out, he's got the link there. You can check it out. Also, if you want to see a cool portal built on Airtable, that's a good use case right there that he whipped together in a day. So good stuff there, Max. Then also Peter asked if anybody had kind of a resource thing that might be built on Airtable that could have all the available resources. And Drew said he helped a company out there put something together. And let me click on it. What does this look like? And so yeah, it's got an embedded Airtable view that has some options for different resources that you need. So it's cool to see people stepping up and helping out the community there. Shout out to those. And okay, next one. kind of big industry news. I don't know if you saw the CES was last week, I think, and this will impact everything, including Airtable. This is the NVIDIA CEO showcasing their new super chip computer that he's got in his hand there. That's like, I can't remember, 1,000 times faster, more powerful than current chips. It's pretty crazy. And so it'll be, a desktop that can run your AI models. Now we just need Airtable to be able to support billions of records so you can run AI models on it.
I feel like people are going to use this to mine crypto.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, among many other things. So, but yeah, it's a pretty big breakthrough in supercomputing to get it down to that level. So that's interesting to follow and see what the impact is.
Yeah, it looks like it's the size of a Mac Mini.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, speaking of AI, if you want to learn more about AI, friend of the show, Jen Rudd, is the group manager, group leader for AI. So in the Airtable community, they have a couple different groups, AI being one of them. Ben Green, which one does Ben lead?
Marketing.
Okay, so there's a marketing, and then I think there's one other group. And so they put on events. So check it out. Here's one coming up January 22nd. So if you want to learn more about AI, join that group on the Airtable community. And then Jen will walk you through how to use it and how it works within the Airtable environment. So it'll be a good one to check out. Speaking of Airtable community, they are approaching 2,000 certifications. They think by the end of this month, they will hit that. I think they might hand out prizes to whoever is the 2,000th certified. So if you are not certified yet, maybe time it, try to figure out where they're at. They don't disclose where they're at now. They just think they'll hit 2,000. So I don't know when that's going to be, but that'll be cool to see if whoever is the winner of that prize.
Is that across all of their certifications? I know there's a couple.
Yeah. I don't know. My guess is, yeah, it's across all. That'd be my guess. So I'm too late. I'm already certified, so I'm not a winner. Okay, next one. So we talked last week about some changes. Alli, we talked about this. You weren't there, but we talked about your findings. Somebody recognized as well that it increased from 30 to 60. You want to give an update on, there has been some more information?
Yes. So at the same time as I found this out, I won't get into the nitty gritty, but I had an automation just go absolutely out of control. It started sending text messages and emails to the same list of people over and over. And I was like, what is going on? And I looked at the history. There was only one failed run because it's just a script that runs on a schedule every day. And long story short, it had failed because it timed out. But then I was looking at the history for each of these records that it was touching, and it just kept running over and over and over again and updating the record, queuing it up to send over and over. So I contacted Airtable support, and long story short, got to the conclusion that they had changed script timeout behavior so that if it times out, it retries itself, which was a little scary because they didn't announce it at all. But they are actually going to be rolling that back because they realized, wow, that actually affects a lot of things. So we'll see what happens. But if you've noticed anything weird happening with your scripts, if they've timed out, but you're still seeing them update over and over again, that's probably why. Definitely a good idea to always just treat it as if it will rerun. Don't assume that it never will, because scary things can happen.
Yeah, and their reasoning was because they do have retries on their other actions within automations, but not the scripting. And so they felt like that was bringing it on par with all the other actions. There's a big difference between a scripting action and a predefined, update record action.
But the retries for the other actions, they're not automatic.
They are apparently under the hood. I think they are with and I was wondering about this. We haven't gotten any more information around like what they meant by that, but I was wondering if say you have a bunch of automations running at the same time, maybe they have to wait because I don't know if they rate limit themselves or if one update step fails, they retry it before saying the whole automation has failed. So it doesn't show you that it retries, but I think under the hood it does, which again is good to know. Yeah. Lots of new pieces of information coming to light here, I think.
Did they say, are they rolling back the 60 back to 30 limit? They didn't clarify.
No. That one I'm happy about. That one I think is great.
So you think that, but my understanding of what I read was they were rolling back both.
Oh, that's not how I read it, but
it wasn't specific, but I assumed that was part of the change. And so a rollback would also put it back to 30-second timeout. But they didn't clarify. Maybe we could ask them.
Yeah.
I like the 60-second timeout. I think that's nice. I've been caught in a number of situations where I needed just 5 more seconds for this script to run. So obviously, any limit at all, you're always going to be like, man, if I only had 5 more seconds. But 60 seconds, I think, will cover the majority of what people are trying to do within a single script action in a native Airtable automation. The automatic retries, I don't like that. The inability to turn that off is what I don't like. There are times where a script action is not really destructive. So if it runs into an error, it's okay for it to retry itself. But that's not a universal truth, especially since a lot of them are hitting other webhooks. They're, sending invoices to clients sometimes. So, it's possible to auto charge clients in Stripe. So you don't want that to run over and over and over again unless you want to get sued. So I just feel like that should never have been released without warning. No announcement. Airtable picks and chooses when they bring out the megaphone.
Reasoning was they thought it was a bug fix and not a new feature.
But consequences, that's for sure.
Yeah. Very good. Well, we'll see. We'll see if they keep the 60 or when they roll out. We'll see what they say on that. Well, this might be a good opportunity on the community. They are having an open feedback exchange January 29th at 8:30 a.m. Pacific. And so if you want to give any feedback to the community, I think this is more community specific, not necessarily product. Sign up on this link and let them know what you want of the Airtable community. Join that.
My feedback remains the same. This website sucks. It's really difficult to find, to search for things. It's difficult to put in long, complex answers. I used to, my niche on the community used to be formulas and scripts, and formatting those is just a nightmare now. And so I stopped going. So I don't know. Yeah. My numbers have plummeted on the community because it's just that hard to use.
Yeah. Same.
It's a badge of honor if you can say you lived through the community migration of, when was it, 23?
I think
22
or 23.
Yeah. Back in my day, it was easier to comment.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. A couple new product releases that we found on Reddit that were kind of interesting. Here's one called ShipTable. So ShipTable.pro. So custom portals. There are a couple portals out there, but a new one, and this one does not charge per user. So if you're looking to avoid having to pay per user for portal users, here's a new one that you could try out. I don't know if they've set their pricing yet, so still pretty early. But yeah, could be interesting. Currently free. Okay, here's one. I don't think this will come through. I don't think the audio will come through, but this was amazing. Let me go to the website. Okay, so voice-prompt.io. So it's an extension that's driven by voice AI that can actually, you can tell it where to go within your Airtable environment. You can say, go to that tab, and it'll automatically switch it. So it's all voice controlled. See, you probably can't hear the audio. You can see it.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
The often underutilized set active table or set current table, one of those.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. It looks like it's an extension. There's got to be a Chrome extension as well.
It could be. I don't know how they're implementing using a camera. I feel like not the camera, the microphone. I think that's probably easier to do in a Chrome extension than an Airtable extension, but Airtable's extension library does have hooks and methods that allow you to read whatever the current tab, table, or view is, and then switch to a different one. So what it's likely doing is reading all the metadata, listening for the word, and then trying to find the name of the table that most closely matches what it just heard. So yeah, that I feel like that's nice if you have a lot of tables. Sometimes they added that dialogue so that you can like scroll through all your tables if you have like 20 or more. But even I have trouble like finding things sometimes. So this feels like a neat little trick to get to things a little bit quicker.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it uses AI. I was experimenting with Google's AI, and I saw they have like a new screen recorder AI. So it'll actually process what's on your screen and layer AI on top of it. And so the demo that I saw wasn't with Airtable, but with another product like Excel. I think it would be very similar to this, and you just basically share your screen recording with Gemini AI, and it will process the screen. It's pretty crazy.
It's nuts. I saw I think it was a demo on LinkedIn by Anthropic, and they were showing, it was basically like a whole OS built in with AI, and like they said, like, go, like, can you make me a website to like with a landing page for this? And like the whole, like the AI literally like opens up all these things, signs up for like a website to host, creates its own server, puts the site online. Like it's like absolutely insane. And the person's just sitting there watching as all of it is done in front of them. It's really crazy.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Yeah. So we'll follow this, see where this goes. All right. Let's move on. Next one. Okay. Mickey has a question. This is good reminder. I know we've talked about this in the past. Actually, I think Joseph, mentions even came on our show and did a podcast segment on this. But the issue is if you have a sync table, especially if it's like multi-layer, if you have like 1-to-1-to-1, you need to do something to wake up the bases for them to generate that sync. There needs to be something to update it. And so there's a couple examples of how you can like set up an automation to just perform an update via the API and things like that. They do kind of fall asleep, the bases.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an issue. You need to ping it every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll be talking a little bit more about this, but Carlston is kind of on the similar page to Alli, playing around with this. And so this feature, we talked about it last week and again this week, like it kind of is a cool little game changer at the data layer, dealing with sorting of lookup and rollup fields. So if you want another real world example, Carlston shares his formulas and how he does his ranking or sorted for the in the past required an automation. So there's that.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. And
I miss W. Van Hall.
I know, right? What would have done with this.
Speaking of community, my goodness, for the uninitiated, if you were there in like 2018, 2019, I think he was before my time, 2017 even, on the Airtable community forums, there was one user, I believe W. Van Hall, and the formulas that this person would create in order to do what seems like simple operations if you're used to Excel or Google Sheets, to be like, give me the top 5 of these records. They were crazy. Very difficult for me to understand. But they stood the test of time for years until slowly but surely Airtable added 5 features that culminated in the same result, which is now very easy to do, as Alli will demonstrate later in the show. But my goodness, back in my day, you had to reinvent the wheel.
I've got a crazy idea of like a documentary to track him down and bring him back.
We've got the very last episode of this podcast has to be going through his like top 5 solutions and then trying to do it again in modern Airtable.
Yeah, that would be fascinating. Very good.
With like a page designer, like where he like somehow turned it into like a heat map. Like it was absolutely insane. I was like, how? Like, yeah, exactly.
I remember the bar charts inside of fields.
Oh yeah. I've done that once. It was fun.
Yeah.
It's hilarious stuff.
He's a legend. I have reached out to him in the last year. He didn't respond to me, but try again. Okay, well, that concludes our Round the Bases. You are now up to date on everything new in the Airtable world. So if you are running your business on Airtable, it's best practice to make sure your data is stored outside of Airtable as a backup. That's where OnToAir comes in. Make sure your data is backed up. We support Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, and Microsoft OneNote. And we back up your data, your attachments, your meta information, and also have the ability to restore it back in to the best of Airtable's abilities. And so check it out, ontoair.com. Use promo code BuiltOnAir to get you a discount and start backing up your data and sleep peacefully at night. Okay, with that, we're going to learn a little bit about Kevin. Okay, tell us your last name, Kevin.
Hey, yes, I'm Kevin. I'm French. I live in the south of France. And do you want me to introduce myself now, or how do you want to? Yes, okay. So I'm a former growth engineer. I worked in different early stage startups in the United States, but also in Europe. My goal was to run experiments in the product, but also in the website for the marketing team, to drive more revenue, to drive more leads, to drive more retention in the product, and etc. But I also helped the teams to automate their processes, via no-code tool like Airtable, but also Zapier, Make, and other tools. And for the last 2 years, I've done some freelancing on diverse topics. And among them was helping some company to implement Airtable and etc. And I had a mission where I needed to help a company to generate PDF based on Airtable data. And first I thought that it was going to be easy. And finally, it was a bit painful, even for me as a technical people, because solutions out there are a bit complex to use. And from my point of view, for non-technical people, it can be really painful to implement by themselves the fact of automating the PDF generation. So from creating template to mapping the data between the template and Airtable fields and importing the script, etc., everything was a bit complex. So that's why I decided to create TypeFlow to make sure that anyone, even the non-technical people, can implement by themselves the possibility to automate the creation of PDF based on Airtable data. So that's the core of the product, TypeFlow. So helping you to generate PDF. I don't know if you have any kind of questions or if you want me to give more details about our main feature and etc. But feel free to ask. Yes.
Well, we'll do a deep dive in a moment, but I always like hearing about how people find their way into the sort of Airtable ecosystem, because you said yourself you're a technical guy, so used to very detail-oriented coding and building something from scratch. And then there's the world of SaaS, where you can still build a lot of things with it, but a lot of things come pre-packaged. How did you feel about Airtable the first time you came across it? Were you like, this is too restrictive, or were you like impressed with what you could do?
You meant when I discovered the first time Airtable, that's it?
Yes.
Oh, it was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So first, I had the feeling that it was not really helpful because it looks like a lot Excel.
Yeah.
But I had a mentor that showed me how to use Airtable, and that's when I started to understand how it works and the value of it, and etc. I think if you don't have any kind of use case and you discover Airtable, you can say to yourself, okay, this tool is not powerful. It's just a beautiful Excel, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then when you start to discovering the formula, the linked record, and etc., it's much more than just an Excel sheet. It's a database for no-code people that are not technical. Sorry, even if you want to implement complex stuff, sometimes you need some technical skills.
I think that's absolutely true. There's a lot. I feel like even today with other products that are new to me, I'll see like a demo video and I'm like, cool, what do I do with it? And Airtable is no different. If you don't have like a defined use case, you're probably going to be like, oh, I could make lists, which is true, but you could do a bunch of other things. And so it's helpful to have something in your head already.
And that's curious because a few months ago, I discovered Fillout, the builder for Airtable. And first, I said to myself, but what is different from the form from Airtable and other forms and etc. And I started, to have specific use cases, and then I discovered the why Fillout is really powerful. So I think the value of a product doesn't come necessarily when you discover it first, but only when you have a use case or something like that.
Yeah, And we're probably going to see a similar thing with your product, TypeFlow, but fill out is so good because it fills in so many gaps that Airtable's native forms just don't do or can't do. And there are times where, as much as you could build within Airtable natively, sometimes, depending on your use case, you need another tool to help you out. And PDFs have been often maligned in Airtable's native capabilities. And I remember when I was doing my very first set of extensions for Airtable, I was like, I'm going to build a PDF builder. I don't know why Airtable doesn't automate this. And then I was like, oh, because it's hard. And you mentioned thinking it was going to be easy at first. And I was like, yeah, so did I. I gave up.
Yeah.
So when did you first get the idea for TypeFlow?
Yes. So I think it was 1 year ago. So I had a customer that came to me and they said to me, yeah, I need to generate PDF automatically, and etc. and etc. And honestly, I said yes, thinking that it was going to be easy. So first, of course, I tried Page Designer, but it was really limited. And then I tried some third-party tool like Document, for example. So honestly, Document is really powerful, but the learning curve is too high. I mean, for non-technical people, it's just crazy. Even for me, at the beginning, wow, I was like, it's not possible to build by yourself a template and to map the data and etc. if you're not used to those kind of tools. And I started to give up with Document and I tried other solutions, but I didn't find out anything else. So I came back to Document, and then I finally released finished the mission. But at the end of it, I was frustrated. Like, is it possible to struggle as much as that just to create PDF? And it stays in my head for a long time. And I decided to launch it 3 months ago because I ended the mission and I didn't find any other clients. So I decided to give it a go to see where it goes.
Awesome. So once again, having a clearly defined use case really helps. So when you're building TypeFlow, you built it all yourself?
Yes, I built using software engineering languages.
Oh, cool. And for Airtable specifically, there's a couple of different routes a developer can take to have it access your data. You can have an extension that's sort of built into your base, or you could have it on your own separate website where you can log in separately. How did you arrive at which approach you wanted? Or, you could always do a blend of the two. But
that's a good question. To be honest, since I use Airtable, I don't use a lot extension. And so naturally, I went to the second path. So a SaaS and not an extension.
That makes sense. I think as people are using interfaces more and more, they're not necessarily looking at the data layer as much. Once again, Airtable, let us put extensions on the interfaces.
Yes.
They'll get to it eventually, maybe. Do we want to take a look at TypeFlow?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you want to share your screen, Kevin,
please, let's
walk us through TypeFlow. And the website is typeflow.us.
Exactly. So can you see my screen? Let's go to the home.
Yes.
So just to give you more context about TypeFlow, it's possible to generate PDF based on Google Doc for templating. We choose Google Doc because we think that most of the people on the earth know how to use Google Docs. At least, I think most of us know it. It's also possible to generate PDF based on Google Slide. If you want to create certificate, for example, I think it's better to use Google Slide than Google Docs. and we see some of our customers using it, even if Google Docs is the main use case. So let's choose that. Here you can use available templates if you don't have one, or you can select directly from your Google Drive. So for this use case, we are going to use the invoice template because it's a recurring use case. Okay. So now that the template has been duplicated, we can use it. Oh, there is an error. I'm so sorry.
Live demos. Every time.
So it worked well. Let's try this one. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me try this. Okay.
It could be is Airtable down? Sometimes.
No, that's not possible. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening. Can I share again in a few minutes? I need to check what's happening in the backend. Sorry.
Yeah. Why don't we can move to Alli's segment and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Alli, let's learn about Rollup Sorting.
All right.
Ranking.
Okay. There you go. All right. So this is something that I shot up in the middle of the night and was like, oh my gosh, I could do this now with just a formula and don't have to worry about automations and sorting records and all this fun stuff. And I want to present a caveat, which is that there's a million ways to expand on this. And also it can't do everything. So it's not 100% perfect, but it's a step forward. So essentially what I want to be able to do is automatically rank records based on any criteria. For example, say I have a value here and I want to get a number ranking for what person is number one amongst all of these values in the database. And then so on and so forth. I want to be able to order these and have it change if these numbers change. So if I grab Clovis here and change their value to 900. Oh no, why? What is
See? You're not alone, Kevin. Sometimes stuff will just error out for no reason.
Okay, so maybe
this happened to me earlier today too. Let me try logging in one more time.
This episode is cursed.
I don't know what's going on. I gotta do some 2FA really quickly, and yeah, I don't know. This is the second time today that it's done that to me too. Fun. All right. I'm back now. Let's see. Share. Okay. All right. Are we good? Okay. So if I change someone's value to something else, like 900, this should, once it's done saving, ... There we go. That's now my number one record. I could, change all these values and it should fall into the right order. I'm going to go over very quickly how this works. The first thing that I need to do is I need to link all the records that I want to be part of the ranking to a record on another table. So I just have all of these linked to this one record. And then I've rolled up their record IDs and I'm sorting them by the value field. So whatever my ranking criteria is, I want to put that into my sorts. And if I had, a tiebreaker field, I could include this. So sort first by the value and then by something else or alphabetically, however you want to do it. Then I just use array unique values to get to for my aggregation formula. You could really use anything. You just want to make sure that there is a separator, and that that's really it. I guess you just need to use a separator. So I've improved on this since the first time I showed it, Dan, to a couple other people, where here is essentially how it works. I have it all working with just one function, which is really big and scary. And I'm just going to show how it breaks down. So all of this is all combined based on the steps in these fields, but I could just delete these and keep just this. I just wanted to show how it works. So that is essentially step one is I'm just joining all of the values into one big roll up. So I roll them up to the linked record and then back down to here. And then I want to find where the record ID of this record is, right, in this list, and take everything that comes before it. Yeah, so I'm cutting it at where I find the record ID and just take all the stuff that comes prior to that. And then this is a W. Van Hall formula that he shared on the community forum years ago. And he actually said himself he stole it from somebody else, if I recall correctly, and didn't understand how it worked. And neither do I. I do not get it. But what it does is counts how many commas there are inside of this field, rank step 2.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
I don't get it.
Because the reason why you're using record IDs, and I'm sure you're going to get there, is because they're a constant value and they always have a value.
Yes.
So I believe it's 17 characters long. And what this thing is doing is saying, well, we know that the length of this is going to be some multiple of 17 except for the commas. So if you take the commas out, you'll eventually be able to divide that number by 17 to get like the number of record IDs are in there. And then seeing the commas in there does something. So somewhere along the line, I think you can count the commas to get to that number faster.
Right.
That might be what's happening.
That's what I'm doing here. So originally my first attempt at this was I actually did just have the record IDs and I was dividing by 17.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to continue doing that just in case the record ID length ever changes in the future. I wanted something that was like a little more future proof. And I decided to just go with, all right, if I just count how many separators, i.e. commas, appear prior to the record ID that is in this record, and then add one, that'll give me the rank. Yeah. So now these don't even have to be the same length anymore. They could literally just be any unique identifier as long as they're unique. And then, so yeah, that's what this is doing, is it's counting. This counts how many commas appear in this field. So we've got 1, 1, there's 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, and there's a third one. It just counts how many commas there are prior to the record ID for this record. And then it adds 1. So this is like the final one is just adding 1.
I love how simple the last one is.
I know. I just wanted to like break it out into all of its constituent parts. But basically this function takes all 4 of these formulas and puts it all into one single thing. And then outputs the number, which is this pretty rank. Yeah, that it is complex, but also really fun because now this will just work and I don't ever have to worry about it. Used to have automations that would like, you know, either sort and do all this stuff and then update a field with the rank that they were at that day. And it just always ultimately got out of sync with itself. Yep. So this is going to be...
Now explain, so you could easily set up a sort on this view to sort by the value to get it, you know, where it sorts. So what's the benefit of having an extra field that displays the rank.
So if you wanted to, for example, like have a leaderboard for your organization or your company or whatever, you could now filter a view to be like always only show the top 5 people. You could, use that ranking to like start bucketing your data more. There's all sorts of things you could do from there. But I think for me, the people I know ask a lot about like, how can I make a leaderboard and how can I, find the top X records? And this is a great way to do it.
Yeah.
And technically, not even technically, you could do this with text-based values, which are a little bit more difficult to sort if you don't want to do it alphabetically. So being able to have the rolled up value be different from the value by which you're sorting is very useful in that regard.
Yeah.
And I think Kavan, friend of the show, mentioned that if there are ties in the value, it might not. I think this implementation isn't necessarily going to account for a tie. However, I think you can modify slightly because you're no longer expecting record IDs necessarily. If you pad your number so that they're always the same length, you'd be able to, I think, find where that value is, that the first appearance of that value in the list of all the values. So ties would end up with the same number.
Yeah, I also was playing around with how to do that right before this call, and I deleted all the fields because I didn't finish it. But yes, if you notice, these two numbers are the same, and it ignores it. It's just like 7 and 8. And some people are okay with ranking like that. Some people want to actually show, they would want both these to be 7 and then this still to be 9. And what Camille just described is a very elegant and simple solution to doing that. That's all.
In theory, I haven't done it. So what I just said, I think works, but I have no proof.
I think it would too. I literally was like going through all these hoops trying to be like, what's the best way to do this? And you just said that. And I was like, I think that's the best way to do it.
I think if you pad the number, so you'll need an additional formula maybe to, add a bunch of zeros depending on how many digits are in your number. But I think you can get it to work.
Yeah. What I usually do is I'll put like an asterisk on both sides and have that be the formula. And then I'll search for asterisk value asterisk. So that way it doesn't get confused with that number inside of another number. Yeah.
So you can find exactly 906 rather than 1,906.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Very cool. This is great. Definitely a cool trick to add to your repertoire. All right, Kevin, how we doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. So I figured it out.
Okay,
so
let's get back to you. Here, hold on. Just give me 1 second. Please. Quick shout out before we get to Kevin. Just if you want to join our community, BuiltOnAir.com/join will get you in. Join our Slack community of thousands of Airtable users. Also sign up for our newsletter. And if you're on LinkedIn, quick plug, if you're on LinkedIn, join our newsletter on LinkedIn. You can get those over LinkedIn as well. So great information. Hannah on our team does a great job compiling all the latest news and everything on our newsletter. So check it out there. And okay, let's go back to Kevin.
Thank you.
You want to share your screen?
Yes. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, cool. So let's go back to where we were. So you can choose between Google Doc or Google Slide. Then, in my example, I wanted to import the invoice template. Okay. Perfect. So I need to select it. Okay, so you have two ways to generate PDF with TypeFlow. You can generate PDF directly in Airtable through a button, for example, or Airtable automation, or you can create your own form with TypeFlow by dragging and dropping the Airtable field to build your form. And then whenever there is a submission, it will automatically generate a PDF without going through Airtable automation. But for this demo, we are going to go to the second pass, so generate PDF directly in Airtable. So let's choose a base, choose a table, an attachment field. So whenever we generate a PDF, it will be attached to the attachment field. And then you have different configuration if you want to overwrite a PDF or not, save it in Google Drive, save it as a Google Doc, and etc. And then it's easy to map the data between the Google variable and the Airtable field. So let me show you quickly the Google template. As you can see, there are the different variable already there. So company name, company address, company city, and etc. And it's also possible to get access to line items in tables to return all the data from another table. So that's the template. And then we can do mapping. So for example, so it's just for the demo, today's date, team, and etc. and etc. And then for reference table, you can select another table. You can do some grouping. Up. So I need first to select some data, and there you can select a grouping field. And now you can personalize the file name, based on different variable from Airtable. And you just need to click on generate, and it must generate the PDF automatically if there is no error.
No whammies.
So in this case, did we select a particular record, or is it picking the first record?
Good question. It selects the first record, and indeed, we don't select a particular record.
Okay.
So
this is just a test. So yeah.
Yes, it was a test. So as you can see, I didn't fill all the variable, but it replaces the variable that we selected based on what we input here. So that's it for the demo, and then you can import this link to your Airtable. So let me show you. So for example, here it's already in place, but you can create a new button. Example for so we select the button, invade formula. Yes, indeed. Create field. And whenever you need to generate a PDF for a record, you just need to click on the button here. So that's it for the demo. I don't know if you have any kind of questions, but feel free to ask.
I think we had someone in our chat who had mentioned some headaches they had found with other solutions with page breaks. Because you're using Google Docs, I believe you can have page breaks entered automatically or just by default in your template, right?
What is page breaks?
So no matter how much content is on page one, you can force all additional content to go to the next page.
Okay. So to be honest, I don't know. I don't know.
I think
in Google, it will automatically page break with the text.
yes.
Yeah.
So that is different from Page Designer in that Page Designer, if the end result you want is some are going to be 1 page and some are going to be 5 pages and a variable length, you have to make the template 5 pages long and then just not print the last 4 pages is effectively what you have to do with Page Designer, which is terrible.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes. No, that's not the case with TypeFlow. I mean, from my users, the page size adjusts automatically based on what there is inside the page.
So Kevin, we did get a question from our viewers asking if there's a way to work with multiple records at the root level, like all multiple records that could go into a template instead of a one-to-one between a template and a single record.
So I'm not sure I understood the question.
So let's say you have like you wanna create like a brochure of houses, like a real estate brochure, and you want to be able to like pick from your list of houses and say, I want to create a brochure of these 5 houses, and you could just pick 5 and send it in, and it would create like 1 page for each record that you send.
No, today that's not possible, unfortunately. You need to do it one by one. One record, one brochure, another one, and etc. Yes.
Yeah.
But with native Airtable automations, presumably you could have the automation just loop through the 5. So if you create a view or something, you can have an automation run and say for each record in this view, hit this URL, and it would generate for each of those 5. So that would be 5 separate PDFs still. So I don't know if that's to that one commenter's liking, but you would at least be able to get 5 PDFs with 1 template. They just won't all be together.
And I've seen, and there are APIs, and I've seen other products similar to yours that actually allow for, they essentially have a merge API endpoint where you could send it. So you could create the 5 and then send it and say, merge these into 1.
Yes,
do it that way.
Today, unfortunately, we don't support that yet. So at the beginning. So.
That's cool. Cool.
Another kind of advantage, I think, of using Google Docs and Google Slides as well is you could have headers and footers. So no matter how many pages you have, if you have a template tag in your header or footer, that could be dynamic as well. So I think that's a pretty nice implementation.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if I can talk a bit about the pricing.
Sure.
So currently we are still an early company, so we offer a lifetime plan at $200. So you pay once and that's it, and you can generate as many PDF as you want. I think it will end at the end of the month, and then we will switch to a monthly plan like our competitors. So if anyone wants to know more about TypeFlow, feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, that's a great offer. Very cool. How's the response been with the customers you're working with? How have people responded? Your early?
Yes. Honestly, I launched the tool end of October, and I had my first paid customers a week after. And they were really happy about the product, even if there were a lot of bugs at this time, to be honest. But they were really happy because they didn't have, to think about the number of PDF they needed to generate per month, because there is no limit, and globally it does the job. So most of my customers right now are really happy about what I offer.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm a fan of using Google Docs versus like some other competitors, because you have something that you can use and repurpose, and you're familiar with it already as a layout system. So I do like that approach, and hopefully everything works out for you, Kevin.
Yes, I hope to.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that concludes this week's show. Glad you all could join us, and we will be back next week for episode 3. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for joining today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out our sponsor, OntoAir Backups, automated backups for Airtable. We'll see you next time on the Built on Air podcast.